Hello my dear students. Today we are going to take up the chapter The Malefactor by Anton Chekhov. Before we come to the chapter, let's first know who this Anton Chekhov was. This man is a Russian. He was born in 1860 and died on 1904. He is regarded as one of the greatest Russian short story writer. Alright, he is the greatest, regarded as the greatest. Then he is rated as one of the greatest among the short story writers. So he was also the top, alright, the top of the writers of his time. So some of his works include Ivanov, The Seagull, The Cherry Orchard, Uncle Vanya, and The Three Sisters. These works mentioned here are some of his well-known works. Okay. Then the way he writes his short stories, the characters, he drew his portraits, means the characters in his short stories from life around him. Means the character which he portrays in the story is mostly inspired by the people whom he see around him. The manner, the behavior, or the stories that he developed in his short stories are mostly from his life around him. So he is inspired by the life, by the situations and the environment around him. His environment influenced him to write short stories or inspire him, gives him the story. So before we come to the chapter, before we start reading the chapter and learning about it, let's first know what the title meant. The malefactor. Malefactor. Let's see. Here the word malefactor, it refers to someone a person who commits a crime or some other wrong, means who have done something wrong or who offenses the law. Alright, so the meaning of the word malefactor is a person. What kind of person? Who commits a crime or some other wrong. So this story is going to be about a person, alright, who has committed a crime. And let's see what the crime is that person has committed. So you have known the meaning of the title. This story was published in 1885, and this story is narrated in a third person form. Narrated third person by an unknown narrator. Alright, this Malefactor was published on 1885 and is narrated in the form by an unknown narrator. Alright, in a third person form. Before starting with the chapter, let me give you a brief description of this story. This story is about a Russian peasant. Denis Grigorev. The name of the peasant is Denis Grigorev, who was brought before the magistrate. He was brought before the magistrate for a trial because he had done something wrong. For what has he done? For unscrewing a nut from the railway track. Railway track like the he unscrewed a nut from there. So it is regarded as a serious crime because if the nuts are unscrewed, then the rail may go in a wrong track, or it might cause an accident. So the whole conversation means the conversation in this story, in this chapter, between them here refers to the magistrate and Dennis, revolves around making Dennis understand that he had committed a serious crime. The magistrate is trying to make Dennis accept or understand that he has committed a serious crime and he should get punishment for it. But this peasant, means Dennis, is not aware. See here, He is not aware of what he had done and the gravity of the situation. Why he was brought before the magistrate and the gravity of the situation. He is not aware that he has done a serious crime, and he is trying to defend himself that I am an innocent person. I have done nothing wrong. All right. So this whole story is going to be about the conversation. There will be a conversation between the magistrate and Denis Grigoriev. The magistrate will try to make Denis understand that he had committed a crime. And Denis, on the other hand, will try to defend himself that he has done nothing wrong. He just unscrewed a nut, and it will not do anything. Wrong to people. So, in this story, you will come across some characters. Let's first know the characters. Denis Grigoriev, he is going to be the protagonist of the chapter. He is a Russian peasant. All right. Then next, Ivan Akinov. Ivan Akinov is a railway watchman. He is a watchman. Then Metrofan. Metrofan is who makes fishing net. He is going to be a person who makes fishing nets and sells them. Next, Kuzma and Yegor. Kuzma and Yegor are the brothers of Denis. And here the magistrate. Magistrate is an judicial official. Okay, all right, officer. Judicial officer. So now let's come to the chapter. Let's start with the text. The tiny and extraordinary skinny peasant, wearing patched drawers and a shirt of stripped linen, stood facing the investigating magistrate. His hairy face was pitted with smallpox, and his eyes, scarcely visible under thick overhanging brows, conveyed an expression of sullen resentment. He wore his hair in a tangled, unkempt thatch, which somehow emphasized his sullen, spider-like character. He was barefoot. So here we are introduced to a man. Kanano yung sige man siya. Masagi Denis Grigoriev hai oy gadoineba. Here the description of the physical appearance to adu do pira ineba ko siya. Denis Grigoriev sige physical appearance kamai toramya. Ma se a skinny haineba. He is a skinny peasant. Skinny oira meko adagi mo kaidore wearing patched drawers mana selaiba my dress so mutagleiba ko mana patched drawers and a shirt of stripped linen stood facing the investigating magistrate. So he is now in the magistrate ko leire ko mase onjhallaga kanada ngasagi magistrate to onjhallaga mase lepeba adugo magi ahenba hena physical appearance kai harki yengji ko his hairy face was pitted with smallpox. All right, hairy face magi mamai do hairy oiba had a hairy face. Hairy face like that, pitted with smallpox, and his eyes scarcely visible under thick eyebrows. Magi eyebrows ya adugi matik ne jaw eba ko thick oeba adu thick oeba ne mana suma yenga pakana kai dawe pisum duna eyebrows na lumjingi dana his eyes were scarcely visible ko fully visible oidreba mai je thick eyebrows like bagi thick eyebrows. Yare ko sima. Next, mana kai hare conveyed an expression of sullen resentment amu hairambra. Sullen resentment habadina. The irakiyong ko. Silent angry feeling habaneba. Silent resentment habadi silent hadi khoishau no ba pau bodo ko khoirang khoishau no ba sounding ba ma po me ba kanada no mana sounding am sia to the magistrate because he is not aware of why he was brought in the office ka the way por ino se khangda bani ne ma se sounding ba I bus se phara por I se kai gino na mana sounding ba do adu do mana utle skinny pigeon oire hairy face thick eyebrows ko magi hadi facial expression magi appearance in do hojik tak lak ba hore ine ba adigi angry feeling magi maithong duda sounding bagi mami amasu tarameba. He wore his hair in a tangled unkempt thatch has untidy hair haba unkempt habadi untidy masam duju puline na toy do hatli na toy do yamna tidy oidu untidy oidu ko dirty oidu yeng pakanda somehow emphasizes sullen spider like character. He is compared to a spider ko maza spider like haiba. Spider like haise kai gino spider akhoi swaina common yum household gumbada khoi store room gumbada thengna badu di kai dawe makhong jing du pitu pi ko legs is my kata pick picture adubo akoina khar chawa spider di hairy oidra hairy oi ko matu ga se khar ka pali dana so hairy face so high gidra aduna this Denis Grigoriev is compared Denis ne ko koine se skinny ko hairy se Denis Grigoriev is compared to a spider like and hybrid magi face to the facial hair ga yaur ba mayam do adu tuna ma se spider like oi adumaina ui adike ke yaure thick eyebrows yaure hairy face ni adagi small pox to gibai su ma se ke da dark leire ko adagi magi mai thong du da my expression na kai no angry feeling am khak uram ne ba ko a feeling of anger can be seen in his face hairak pa ne ba and he was barefoot makhong do kaimta tong dana la ami ba man office to the phara ga pori ne toido ken dabra adi ma se haibadi mana lai mi ba mawong se ko adu du ne bisik tala ka duisi next Denis Grigoriev the magistrate began how a conversation how ka dore ngasai kai hagi chapter sige how pakanda the story is going to be about the conversation between the magistrate and Denis Grigoriev hagi ko chumbra adu hagi bani na husi conversation je how ka dore ba lephalaga amaduna kaidore phammani ko magistration phammaleni Denis Grigoriev se magi sumaina nakanda ga lepaka akhoina ga courtroom da ko ubudo ko courtroom da witness or akhoina crime toriba mijin naka lephala kan judge naga mayai phamaga leitra same adumaina hapet ako imagine tawsalaje ba yare ko Denis Grigoriev the magistrate began step closer and answer my questions on the morning of July 7th the linesman Ivan Semyonov Akinov while performing the duty of examining the tracks found you in proximity to the 141st mile post unscrewing one of the nuts from the bolt securing the rail to the tie. The nut is here. He thereupon arrested you with the nut in your possession. Do you testify to the truth of this statement? Mana matang nang na phara pore isia nang bu sei je phara ga pore isia karigino haibadu hairi ebako mana kai haira Denis Grigoriev ko he just call out the magistrate call out Denis then he asked him kai haina hange on the morning of July 7 numisida nang rail track tagi July 7 numisida nang rail track tagi nut unscrew ta ubra kai naga haireba Ivan Akinov se Ivan Akinov his full name is Ivan Semyonov Akinov haise ko akoi sigi nu pasana he arrested kana Denis arrested wedana and brought him to the magistrate neba arrested Denis adudi who arrested Denis hai targadi kana arrest boy na me Ivan Akinov se kana oi gya railway watchman oi ko ma se railway to the watchman when lai bani na mana pharaga poreba kai do gi phari no haba kanda what was his crime what was the crime of Denis he was unscrewing a nut from the railway track neba unscrewing nuts hai neba ko railway track aduna magi crime se kaino haiba se husi magistrate na he is about to tell Denis what his crime was aduna mana kai haria you were found unscrewing a nut from the railway track and the man who found him was Ivan Akinov ko the watchman had found you unscrewing the nut is this true kana maina hanga ini ba magistrate na hang ba hore ko and the nut nana unscrew to ba nut to it is here kana ga utlaga ko si leire chumbra nang si unscrew to we hai si chumbra kana ga hang ba do hore ba kai hare Denis na kai ko ba what hare ba ma si ko question ba ka thang what kana kari na hai du bo na khang da did all this happen as stated by Akinov sure yes it did excellent now why were you unscrewing the nut what kai tawre ba ma na khanga ba Denis ne kai hare man magistration nang sisi torame you have committed this crime you were unscrewing a nut from the railway track so this watchman who Ivan Akinov has brought you to the magistrate in this office he told that he reported that you were unscrewing a nut which can cause a great danger while running in the running of the train ko chatpa kanda nang na stage da yamna serious crime ma thokpa yabagi mo nang nut unscrew torame hare chumbara do you agree with this kana ga hangba duni ba man hangam le man haira ba mayam sin Denis ne what kai taw ga hangak do hange ko aduga mo magistration kai haira did all this happen as stated by Akinov hari ba thodok sing ja ko do you agree nang yaning bra kai na hangba duni ba ko man hari ba sumaina Ivan Akinov sina hari ba sumaina thodok se chap chap man na tholei se tholei ra chuma ba nang ahen ba kai hainingi hange ba ade kai haira sure yes it did man haidu chume ai na to unscrew to wi sin ba ipang pang kai satlaw khum to re ba Ganda, kumsu kum adai magistration kai hare excellent phare adudi now why were you unscrewing the nut kaigino nang unscrew tawido haire khambra mi railway to yo to na phajalaga thami natro rail track to kaigumba nanthok kitagadi rail train gari chelak pado kaidorani train chelak pase nanthok ga chakhido na accident thok to inatra adu mane kaidoboino nang nut to unscrew tawido hangeba kanana hangiba magistrate asked Dennis ko adu man adu mai haiku what nan hangiba man kaino ni tawi si bona mathom ram khangdo ko he was still in a confused state ko confusion lady madi stop saying what and answer my question why were you unscrewing the nut magistrate in a little ko bit harsh tone the man stop saying what and answer my question ka haiba what highlight do so nang khumo salauna kaigino nang unscrew tawi do kainaga in a very kai haini order to bogi tone do ko man hange magistrate na hanga kan Dennis na kai hare I wouldn't have unscrewed it would I if I hadn't wanted it Dennis said harshly squinting up at the ceiling yengo mas usit tabai changje ko Dennis ina mu kai do rakei dana I wouldn't have unscrewed I unscrewed to ramoina if I didn't want it ko I want to unscrew it that's why I had unscrewed the nut and haini pa ma haise khuma imata je yengo ko mawong je yengo mas usit trini ba khanga ba respect kem ta lay trini ba magistrate to ke man haise ko nang kai do unscrew to no hairo hang ko do ma I wanted to that's why I did that khuma answer je yengo aduga kai do re in a very harshly manner haba in a harshly manner hai tar gadi in a harsh voice haba ne sounding na hai makhong ka se khitang ga kalap tawna khanga ba I wanted to do it that's why I did it kan hai do adumai tora ma se khumo padagi mu kai hare mana squinting up at the ceiling hai dine mami ka se hape ka chep tak tora ga ceiling de yang khal ai tawning bai tawi ni kai no kan ha be mawong tane khum tore eba yara ba adagi mo next mana kai hare what on earth was good of the nut to you karibu kana doino ko what was the use of the nut to you it's just a railway track and why did you just unscrew it what is the purpose kaina hangbodo adu hange kanana the magistrate asked Dennis then Dennis replied the nut hai ko well we make sinkers out of them hai mamana why did Dennis needed the nut to kai gidamakta darkar lai no to make sinkers hai ba ko sinkers hai taragadi aikoina fishing net ha poi ga doine ba sinkers hai taragadi weighing lumdha na ba ko weight lai na ba weight attached to a fishing line weight attached to a fishing line ne ba kai gidamakta attached to no ngasai gi mana bait hadaba do ko nga phana ba sigi bait se thadaba kana makha do lupa lai akhona ga khoi chopu du ni ko ja hai ja akhona machinja ka thai dana pot ama chana ba hapchala kanda ising de lang dhara kanda chop trane ko adugi fishing to budu aduna mana bait oina season ba kanda maton du lum dhara ga leina ba just to put on some weight ko on the bed sije lum dhana ba gi da makta kai season ba khoi jiki na to season hai du ne ba adudi kai kaure du lum dhana ba weight to kai kaure sinkers hai je fishing line da yaw ba se akhoi lum dhana ba pot ama hapa se kai kawe ba hujiki sinkers hai che kau godoi ne ba ko aduga next mana kai hare ai na to na kai kana kai sat hang pa se mana kai no akhoi sinkers ha ba de season ni kai no kai na phat law na khumi e ba ko who is we hare here mana ga sai kai hai ge Dennis na the nut we make sinkers out of them hai ko we hai ba akhoi na sinkers ha ba de season ni hai mana magistrate na we di kana no akhoi di kana no hare e ko mana adamu kai khum keng ji ko Dennis na we the people in the village hai ba village le ba mi khaini kaino na man haire adudi magi village le amukai haira ania the peasants of Kimovon haibra magi huziki village mami se kai kawra me Kimovo haire ba ko village mami se Kimovo kawra me ba huziki Denison la ise ko aduna we make sinkers out of them haibra we have the akoi village de lei mi mayam loina makni kaino kaina mana khum listen fellow don't play the fool with me learn to talk sense don't tell me any lies about sinkers hare magistrate just how re ko madi court room da lei bagi ta mana wild pi dawri ne ba khanga ba aduna mana sawe don't talk any silly things kind tawre mana khaba come to the point ka haibe mawong ne ba man kai hare don't play the fool with me ai bu apang si ke khan ganu ko they learn to talk sense makes sense kind of hairakpadune. Don't tell any lies about sinkers and tell me why did you unscrew the nut haireba mana. Nangi exact kari maramgi no ko exact nangna kari purpose gi nang nut tubu unscrew tawgibano haibado. Tell me the reason na mai haire ko mana hide haire kanana Denisa di hide to make sinker. We used the nut to make sinker. That's why I unscrewed the nut and haire. But the magistrate didn't believe him and instead he shouted. He ordered him to tell the truth and not tell any lies about sinkers. Then Dennis was a bit offended. Dennis na kay haire, me tell lies? All my life I haven't told any lies, and now Dennis muttered, his eyes blinking. Your Honor, I ask you, what can you do without sinkers? Now, if you put live worms on the hook, how do you think it touches the bottom without a sinker? So, I'm lying, am I? He smirked. Then, what is the good of live bait floating on the surface? The perch and pike and pout always go along the bottom, while if the bait floats on the surface, there's only the snapper will bite. And that doesn't happen often. And there are no snappers in our part of the country. Our fish like a lot of space. Reason the magistrate told Dennis that he told him not to tell any lies and start speaking the truth. Dennis is how because he was not telling lies. He was really using the nut to make sinkers. Me, am I telling lies? Me and lies mana ngakna how na hareba. I kadai jintijanay no. I tijana dena oy the bangang dena mana kay hare. Sinkers yaudana bu. How can a man fish fishing go fishing and hare? Sinkers yaudana kamaina koni fishing chakadoy fishing line ma tondu das maina si leire si paibam leire si ha ko doini and this is going to be the worm ma yaure khalo worms mana kay hare. Sinkers is the hakodoineba, lumdhanaba. Sinkers kansida. Without the sinkers, the bed have the sigi siniko. Akoina pot ama pangnaba the season nabado. Sacrifice to Aduna sigi bed kamaina can go down to the bottom of the water. How can it go down to the bottom of the water? It will just float on the surface of the water and no fish will come and eat it. It to dragadi cha dragadi akoina ngado pangaroidana khoi chopaga smain haigalapda phangoi deniba kanamta cha da taragadi aduna mana kai hare sigi betsa smaina screw this the half the tari lumdha the taragadi it will float on the surface light oi taragadi weight to light oi taragadi it will float on the surface and no fish will come and eat. Yes, there's one fish known as snapper haidonga maming niko snapper and di chaba yai haba. Yes, this fish floats in the surface of the water, so it might come and eat the worm. We could catch that. But the main problem is there is no snappers in our country. In our region, reason to snappers like that. Aduna kanamta chabi dre ngaze phaba yaro fishing to ba yaro habaneba. Adu moi gi mi du dikai dawi the people in the village mostly they go for fishing. Livelihood to the tan doineba. Aduna mana kai haira. Without the sinker, what is the use of the fishing line? Without the sinker, no one can get the perch, pike, and the pout. We won't be able to get that and haiga doineba. Aduna kari kana gani just a snapper se phangdo mangare akoina nga pharapa kan snapper katang phar to mai adubu amukai dawi. The problem is we don't have snapper in our country haiba mana leiriba pa jaga adu da khoi snapper se nga se phangde aduna kananta chabi dre haiba duneba sta haije. Yaraba yamna haidimana machin thijanare khotlena magistrate na hairakpa kan sauning dana man khumak poduneba magistrate na mu kai haira. What's all this talk about snappers? Kaina nang snappers kai mu pusalai duna kaina mana sauri ka hairakpa dunista haire. What? Why? You asked me that yourself. I'm telling how the gentry catch fish, but the very stupidest child wouldn't try to catch anything without a sinker. Maybe a man without a brain in his head might try to catch a fish without a sinker, but there's no accounting for people like that. Aina sinker sab the season any have a gun. I don't hazard dinner to other my saugaleba. Mana, kadang snapper ka do nang snapper adung ngang du buka ino magistrations how edana. Then the Dennis na kay kumea. You asked that yourself. You asked me why do we use sinker. Then I have given you the reason. We use sinker to catch fish. Adu sukaramba fish perk kumba, then pike, L-pout, this fish. Adunani, aina nangoda, aina ngasai sinkers habada seasonai, ngasai nuts sinkers habada seasonai haja, nangya suda tade, but I was telling you the truth and hide eba. Kanana, Denisina, magistrate, ko conversation tawini ko haji. The manake haya says, I'm telling you how the gentry catch fish and hide eba. Man say haja, aina ngasai di hai miam sa, kamana ko si ngaze phage habaja. Adu do haibane du gana sungta thaja dina trana haireba mana gentry haibadi people of high social status ne bakwa aduna mayam sing du akoina nga yonu na bagi damak tana tragana gyan leba high officials sing di sinkers yaw nga ta season taw leire sineba gyan tabra sinkers yaw da kangbu du di stupidest child ga compare taw eba mana they are very stupid very foolish that they don't use sinkers for catching fish haireba mana adu wakhal leiba kwa those clever and clever people will use only the clever people will use the sinkers in man hosi hiding ai ken tabra hadi nga do hena phai na khangbogi ko according to you the nut was unscrewed so you could use it as a sinker is that right magistrate na hange ko so the whole story that you have just narrated ko nang hosi haigi ba story according to that you mean to tell me that you unscrewed the nut just to make sinker is that right kaina hange ba mana magistrate na ko adudi na nga sai ge hairi mayam se nangi sinker do khak sana bagi da makta nang na nut se unscrew ta we sini ne chumra nang na hairi se aduna tra kaina hange Dennis na kai hara well it couldn't be anything else could it I wasn't playing knuckle bones with it was I hai yong kuma khumok pa se ko in a sarcastic manner da mana khumi eba kamai hara chumme ai nga sai ge hai sing do sigi kaino je sinkers have the nuts sinkers have the season adu tadi karibu season ningai lai ge what's the use of nut ko other than this making sinker what's the use of nut kaina ga man hai eba ko nut tadi eke do knuckle bones hana lai hai ro kaina ga yam usitana hai eba adai magistrate na kai kumya instead of a nut you could have used a bit of lead or a bullet perhaps a nail would have served the same purpose why did you use the nut from the railway track ko you could use a kari use to boya har emanis the harisa you could use a nail ama pale you could use a nail a lead or a bullet and haiba ko nail season na bayai lead season na bayai aduga bullet am season na bayai kari gi damak tano nang na seiza achi pirami ba mayam sa amta season na dagay ko si ya ba mayam sa amta season na dagay nang na husiki railway track to da masagi railway track ta laijaba nang na screw dubu satok tana ko unscrew ta thoga lai thok tana na adu de season na ru kai gi no na kanan haire magistrate na haire ba ko you could have used the nail a lead or a bullet instead of a nut but you unscrewed the nut from the railway track why kai do bogino hange Dennis na ke khome well your honor as for that you don't find it lying about in the street and it has to be paid for and a nail's no use at all there's nothing better than a nut it is heavy and has a hole in it so the reason behind using a nut as a sinker why if we use a nail di ke dor sang ga leire ko sang abna yan thabdu nungai thedana but a nut it has a hole in it hole oidana natte sumaina screw mai lai thokpodo ko aduna hole lai bani na nga sagi fishing net che sumaina fishing net nate sorry fishing line je sumai sila halaga bet to se ja ha pa yai ba ko loksalaga thamme ba ring du da ko loksala thamamna lumdharaga leire it has a hole in it so it's very convenient for us to use it as a sinker instead of nails leads or bullet and we don't find lead anywhere lying in the street taraga leiramba nate da paisa piraga layudoine sineba and we don't have the money he's trying to say that we are poor and we don't have money to buy lead so we are unscrewing the nut from the railway track all right